In the late 1990s, Steve Irwin rose to fame as the popular host of TV's The Crocodile Hunter. With his unbridled passion for animals and daunting encounters with dangerous creatures. While many feared for Irwin's safety, he seemed to find a way to get himself out of any sticky situation. But on September 4th, 2006, Steve Irwin died suddenly after he was attacked by a stingray while filming in the Great Barrier Reef. Stingrays are naturally calm creatures that usually swim away when they get scared. But why did this stingray act differently and attack him? What happened to Steve the day he died? And how did a man known for fighting crocodiles get killed by such a seemingly harmless creature? Welcome to the interesting documentary channel, where today I will tell you about the tragic Steve Irwin story. Born on February 22, 1962, Irwin almost seemed destined to work with wildlife. After all, his mom and dad were both noted animal enthusiasts. By 1970, the family had relocated to Queensland, where Irwin's parents founded Birwa Reptile and Fauna Park, now known as Australia Zoo. Steve grew up around animals, and he's always seemed to have a sixth sense when it comes to wild creatures. In fact, he caught his first venomous snake when he was just 6 years old. By the time he was 9, he reportedly wrestled his first crocodile under his father's supervision. With such a wild upbringing, it's no surprise that as Steve grew up, he became a wildlife expert. He's like Tarzan meets Indiana Jones. In 1991, Steve met an American naturalist, Terry Raines, while she was visiting the park that his parents founded. At the time, the management of the park was taken over by Steve. It was love at first sight. The couple married just 9 months later. Shortly after the couple married, Steve Irwin began to attract media attention. In the early 1990s, he and his wife began filming wildlife videos for a new series, The Crocodile Hunter. Having become very popular in Australia, the series was eventually brought to the United States in the late 90s. On the show, Steve was known for getting up close and personal with some of the world's most dangerous animals, like crocodiles, pythons, and giant lizards. And people absolutely loved it. Steve's love of nature and his rather extreme interactions with wildlife have made him a beloved international celebrity. But as his fame skyrocketed, the public began to question his methods, which were sometimes described as reckless. Irwin's extreme comfort with animals sometimes clouded his judgment. In 2003, Steve encountered a lizard almost 2 meters long. He ended up with about 10 incisor marks on his arm. There was blood everywhere. Steve was a real showman. In January 2004, Steve courted even more controversy when the public witnessed him feeding a crocodile while holding his 1-month-old son, Robert. Irwin later apologized for this behavior and said that the camera angle made the crocodile look much closer than it actually was. He claimed he would never pose a real danger to his children. Although Steve Irwin claimed to always remain cautious about safety, his uninhibited relationship with animals eventually killed him. On September 4, 2006, Steve Irwin and his film crew headed towards the Great Barrier Reef to film a new series called Ocean's Deadliest. A little over a week into filming, Steve and his crew initially planned to shoot scenes with a tiger shark, but when they couldn't find one, he decided to film a stingray for a separate project. The plan was for Steve to swim up to the animal and have the camera capture the moment that it swam away. Nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Instead of swimming away, the stingray propped on its front and began stabbing Irwin's chest with its 12-inch long barb. It went through his chest like a hot knife through butter. The film crew didn't realize how severe Irwin's injury was until they saw a lot of blood. They quickly got Irwin back in the boat. Irwin knew he was in trouble. He told them, "The stingray had punctured my lung," but he didn't realize that the barb had actually pierced his heart. As they were motoring back, they tried to put their hand over the wound, and they were saying to him, "Think of your kids, Steve. Hang on." Then he just looked calmly and said, "I'm dying." That was the last thing he said. The stingray had done so much damage to Irwin's heart that there was little anyone could have done to save him. He was just 44 years old. It is believed that the reason why the stingray attacked Steve was because the stingray thought that Steve's shadow was a tiger shark who feeds on them pretty regularly. Steve Irwin always told his team that everything that happens to him must be recorded. His attack, rescue attempt, and death were caught on camera. The footage was turned over to authorities, and after an investigation, the video was returned to the Irwin family, who later announced that the footage of Steve Irwin's death had been destroyed. I remember watching Steve Irwin's TV shows as a kid. He was one of those who interested me and taught me to respect our nature, showing infinite love and respect to every organism on our planet. I have no fear of losing my life. If I have to save a koala or a crocodile or a kangaroo or a snake, mate, I will save it. Steve Irwin.